Welcome to the Fourth Rail. I'm Tom Knighton. Uh, I spend a lot of my time, both writing and really anywhere else, taking issue with the left. That's because the left does a lot of really goofy stuff. But today I'm going to shift my focus a little bit. And I'm going to talk about somebody who is kind of a mainstay a little bit on the right. In particular, I'm going to talk about Michael Knowles. Now, Michael Knowles is one of the bigger names you will find at the Daily Wire, which in and of itself is one of the bigger names. In fact, a lot of people on the right who start their own things eventually hope to get where Ben Shapiro has gotten the Daily Wire. They do some really cool stuff over there, and I got to give them credit. But Knowles recently made a comment that, oh boy, I don't know how else to put it, but that. Look, let me roll the clip and you can tell me what you think.
Americans are as conservative today as they were back in 2012, which is fine, and it's a good start given how much more liberal the country had become since 2012. But if 2012 is the end point, then we might as well pack it in, guys. I do not want America to be as socially conservative as it was in 2012. I want our civilization to be as socially conservative as we were in 1220, okay? Forget it. I don't even want the 1950s. I don't even want the 1880s. I want 1220. I think that would be a good spot to land at.
Bruh.
Yeah. He actually went there. He actually said literally all of that on purpose. Now, I get that the year 1220 was nothing but a play on 2012. You know, that's why that arbitrary number was picked. I get it. I understand that. But he was very specific that he didn't want to go back to the 1950s. He didn't want to go back to the 1880s. He wanted to go much, much farther back, and he picked a date that happened to be medieval. And he says that's where he wants to go back socially. He doesn't want to do away with the internet or cars or any of the modern conveniences. He just wants socially to go back to the medieval period. I mean, seriously. Michael's a bombastic personality, okay? And he makes his bread and butter saying outrageous things. I don't even know if he believes half of the stuff that comes out of his mouth. I kind of wonder how much of this is the audience capture, this idea that you have to say things to keep your audience versus actually believing all of them. But I'm not in his head. I can speculate, I can guess. I don't know the man. I've never interacted with him. He may be a true believer. He may think that this is exactly what this nation needs. In which case, he should study a little history. Now, I'm not a professional historian. I am not somebody with a PhD in medieval history. But I am someone who actually studies medieval history a fair bit. Seriously, get me started talking on medieval armor and I can go for days. My wife freaking hates it. Want to talk about medieval swordplay? Hey, I actually study that for fun, right? I teach it even. So I am more familiar with the Middle Ages than your average bear. There is nothing in 1220 Europe. And I'm assuming he means Europe and not Africa, Middle East, South America, anywhere like that. That was not a great time. And it wasn't a great time because of things that might be termed social issues. Sure, there was no pride celebrations with guys putting on BDSM displays in the middle of a parade that was advertised as family friendly. I think most of us can agree that's probably not a great thing. There was no drag queen story hours. There was no idea that we should, perform gender reassignment surgeries on children. Sure. But there wasn't any of that in the 1950s. If Knowles had just said 1950s, there would still be some issues with that, but at least it's a time period that most people can kind of understand, right? Because that's been the criticism, that Republicans want to take us back to the 1950s. And Knowles is like, nope, nope, that's not what I want. I want to go back to a medieval period where my co-workers, people like Candace Owens, where Candace would be required to live with her father until her father arranged a marriage, married her off, in which case she would be subservient to her husband. Brett Cooper, who, does comment section with Brett Cooper, actually one of my favorite Daily Wire properties. She would be in the same boat. They wouldn't be working because that whole thing was a social movement. That was social reform. And then there was the whole social reform that took place during the Enlightenment, where we came up with ideas like free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, things like the right to keep and bear arms belonging to the people themselves, that your home was your castle, and as such, well, the idea of your home being a castle was earlier. The fact that it was meant that the government could not just waltz in and search your home looking for evidence to incriminate you. And you're not required to incriminate yourself in a court. What about the fact that we have to be tried in court by a jury of our peers? All of these were social innovations. These were based on the social movements of the Enlightenment. Knowles argues that classical liberalism eroded the foundations of society, the same foundations, the same institutions that it counted on for support, that it counted on to survive. Maybe those institutions needed to die. Maybe they needed to be eroded, because the church still exists in a different form. And the church of the medieval period was pretty totalitarian. If the Catholic Church excommunicated you, there was nowhere to go. There were no options. None. Nada. So taking that and undoing it is a good thing, right? And let's not even talk about economics, because if you go back to, say, the 1220s, what about nursing profession, teachers, social workers? These are careers that are overwhelmingly staffed by women. Women seek out these careers at a much, much higher rate. Now, I take issues with a lot of stuff in education, and we'll be exploring that later on down the road. But if you read some of my writing at my Substack, I've been very critical. I get the problems, but somebody still has to teach, right? Not everyone is interested in homeschooling. Not everyone can homeschool. And our economy's not built on going back to the 1220s. Now, in fairness, I'm pretty sure Michael is not actually saying we need to go back there and we need to make this change happen right now. He's saying he would like that. I think he knows realistically that's never going to happen, but I don't think he even wants it. He may think he wants it. If he actually believes what he says, and, again, I'm skeptical, but I believe that if he were to get what he's asked for, he wouldn't like it. And why would you? Because that's not a particularly great time from a social standpoint. If you want to embrace a conservative idea, and I get that Knowles is a conservative, he's not a libertarian, he is not a moderate, he is a very much I don't want to call him far right, because I don't think he's in that alt-right extremist category in a lot of ways, but this is a pretty extremist position if you ask me. And I'm sorry, but bruh, you want to keep talking smack, and you want to be taken, if you want to be taken seriously, this is not the direction to go, because there's no way this can actually be taken seriously. I can't take it seriously. I'm talking about it because, well, frankly, some ideas are so insane you can't ignore them. And the part that bothers me is there's people out there going, damn right. They watched that clip and went, hell yeah, brother. Guys, we're losing the plot. We're losing it bad. I mean, ugh. We can do better than that. Michael, stop talking this crazy ass stuff. You know it ain't going to happen. And I think if you really looked at it, you'd realize you don't want it to happen to that extreme. You want to restore some traditional values? We can talk. There's some benefits to tradition. I like traditions. I think we don't have enough of them in our society. Okay? Especially with how we deal with day-to-day life. Our traditions are around holidays and a little more. We can do better on that front. But telling roughly half the population that they should be subservient to the man in their life under penalty of possible, whatever horrors that would be visited upon them. That ain't it. It ain't it. It ain't it. It ain't it. And honestly, stop, because too many people on the left will hear that and get in their head that's what everybody who's not a rabid progressive actually thinks and where they want people. I don't want any of that. Most people don't want any of that. Stop making us look bad. Maybe I got it all wrong. I don't have all the answers. I don't always get it right. I believe in the marketplace of ideas. This is YouTube. Millions of users on every day. Well, most of them won't find this video. A lot of them will. So tell me down in the comments, is Michael right or am I? Or somewhere in between? Let me know. And if you like this video, well, there's another one on your screen right about now. So why don't you check that one out and let me know there what you think of that one. Until next time.